I just want to start from the very beginning. That way, it's more chronologically.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were born and raised in Maryland, correct?
Yeah, born and raised in Maryland, DC area. So my house was like 20 minutes from the White House. So it was it was a great experience, growing up there. Very diverse area. And, they took us on so many field trips because all the museums and everything in DC are all free. So we got to, do Kennedy Space Museum, the zoo's free, everything out there, visit the White House. It was just incredible for a kid growing up, being 5, 6 years old, going to all these places up until I was 12. So, yeah, because I moved to Florida, after my mom passed, and then moved to Florida because that's where my dad was originally from.
How did growing up in Maryland shape you as a young man before your mom passed away?
I had great parents, strict but not too strict. They let me be myself, and it's just a different education system up there. I was I was definitely blessed with the teachers I had, and the close, tight knit family that I had. I was very close with my mom's sister and my uncle and my cousins. They're like my sisters pretty much. I lived with them for a while after my mom passed, but when my dad was moving, I decided to leave them and go with my dad because I didn't want to. I would have missed my dad too much being 14 hours away. So that's why I made the decision to go with him, other than stay there in Maryland. It was probably better for me as a child to stay in Maryland, but it made me a better actor for sure to move to Florida, because it was rough, and you can't have a story without conflict, and I definitely hit a lot of conflicts in my my life. And but yeah, Maryland was great, man. It really was. I mean, I wouldn't go back there and live now because now I'm a Florida man. I'm used to this humidity and the beach lifestyle, beach bum. So it's great for me now.
When you were growing up in elementary school, I read that you aspired to be an actor, beginning from talent shows were hosted in the school.
Yeah,
I have to ask you, because that's very interesting to me, because I'm 23, and when
yeah,
I was in elementary school, there were talent shows towards high school, but it was more so try baseball, try soccer, more so sports tryouts.
for sure.
As a young man, specifically you, I have to assume your school probably had the same sort of sports tryouts too, but what made you say, I really want to try this talent show stuff more so than anything else that was other school activity wise?
Well, it all started with inspiration from a certain actor, Dwight Schultz. He played Murdoch on the original A-Team back in the 80s, and I mean, that came out when I was 1 year old. But I watched it every Thursday night, whatever night it came out, and he did all these weird voices, and he was just all over the place and dressing up because they had to fool the bad guys. He even dressed up like a bridesmaid, and I mean he was just a complete character, and I just loved the leather jacket and the voices that he made. He was like the original Jim Carrey, and people just didn't give him enough credit, and I was like, that's what I want to be like, and so I did a lot of voices. And then I remember first grade, I watched my first talent show, and there were some guys up there doing like lip sync to this song called it was a rap song version of Wipeout, like surfing type deal. And I just remember watching it and then just trying to do that at home, emulate it at home. And, at 6 years old, I decided, I wanted to be an actor. I played with G.I. Joes a lot, and I more so geared toward Cobra, the bad guys. That's before your time. Those were the 80s were great, man. They're a lot different than today's toys. And there was a group called the Dreadnoughts. They were just, this weird biker gang. And I was just like, I was very intrigued by it. And I always, I liked the good guys, but then I was always, curious about the bad guys. So that really had a lot of inspiration on me. I even created some of those looks from those toys and cartoons, and and put it into my look for acting. And, one of those looks when I had the mutton chops and the Fu Manchu, it was off one of my GI Joes, and I booked a lot of roles off that. I mean, in 13 months I booked 11 roles, and it was just, I was on the fast track in 2015. It was amazing. But yeah, that having a talent show there in an elementary school in Maryland was, I mean, it broadens the child's horizons, like just that there's more than just going out there and getting a job one day. It's building a dream. And Florida didn't have that when I got here. There was no talent shows in middle school. There was a little bit in high school, but not much. Nobody really promoted it at all. And I don't remember going to any talent shows in high school. I didn't attend any. Yes, I wanted to be an actor all throughout high school, and I just kept thinking, I just want to drop out and just be an actor. That was my only goal. And people were like, oh, what's your fallback? I was like, my fallback would be be an NFL GM. But that was my other life goal. But because I love NFL and I have the right mind for all that, and I love crunching numbers, and you figure out which players are going to be good and the right fit for the team. But acting was always number one. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do that from Largo, Florida, because everybody, you have the preconceived notions that, you got to live in LA or live outside your car like Jim Carrey did or whoever. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'll do that. And because, in high school, I got like 7 senior superlative awards. I got voted, class clown, which was most important to me because I was a comedic guy, and most likely to succeed, most likely to be remembered, and a few others. Best dressed. But I had so much pressure on me. Everybody thought I was going to be this famous actor when I graduated high school, and I had all this pressure on me. And so I think 2 months after I graduated high school, I fell off a roof and shattered luckily it was 20 feet high, but my wrist broke my fall. It shattered. And then I broke my vertebrae. I'm just glad I didn't hit my head. I fell on concrete. And then, I was in a wheelchair for about 5.5 months. I was the guy at the 19-year-old kid at the grocery store with a cane riding in one of those little, I got to reverse. I'm like, Jesus, this is my life now. I can't move my legs. I didn't know if I was going to walk or run again. And I overcame it. I kept telling myself I was going to. And I did. And I probably run faster now than I did, at 16 years old, which is incredible. But yeah, I overcame a lot of stuff. Losing my mom was really tough. I was 9 when I lost her, and that was obviously devastating. But I use all my trauma as trophies. It's like I overcame that stuff. And it's a trophy. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve. I wear it in my heart. Nobody needs to know what I had to overcome, but I do. And it just drives me to do even better. So when I hit another obstacle, whatever it may be, disaster strikes when you least expect it. And, I hope for the best, but I also prepare myself for the worst sometimes. It's not me thinking negatively. It's just me just being ready for whatever. I'm like a soldier at war, because sometimes this country can be a battlefield in its own setting. And, I'm just prepared for just about anything. And instead of wearing my heart on my sleeve, I just let it roll off my shoulders. And it's taken a lot of work. It's taken a lot of growth. But I've been able to overcome a lot. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'm still here today.
So when you moved from Maryland down to Florida with your father,
mm-hmm.
So when you go down there and you move with him after the passing of your mother and everything, and you want to pursue your acting dream, what is his reaction to this? What was your father's thoughts? Did he encourage it?
He was always 100% supportive. He didn't necessarily push me when I was a kid, because I mean he was overwhelmed with hospital bills after my mom died and battling his own demons. He eventually he drunk himself to death a couple of years ago. So, but yeah, he never remarried. He was very, he's heartbroken, but he always had my back. Even when I was at rock bottom, he always, told me I was a star. I was number one, even when the rest of the family, they gave up on me. I was in and out of jail from, 14 to 20. Um, and, I overcame all that stuff. And luckily I'm not a felon, and I've, overcame a lot during that time. And, but once it came time, when I was 21, I was really serious about it, and he, paid for my acting classes and helped me with that. And I started dating somebody that I eventually married, and she was love her to death. We spent almost 12 years together, but it was holding me back, and yeah, and I ended up quitting acting at around 23, 24. Just to please whoever you're with, because their jealousy or whatever, and it just kind of held me back. I had a boss tell me one time, leave it to a woman to stop a man's progress, and sometimes that can be true. There's some very supportive women out there, not bashing women whatsoever, but and then there's ones that are codependent and that want to hold on and not let you go. But the key is that you got to hold on loosely, because I wasn't really going anywhere, my heart at least. But I and then she finally saw that it was bothering me, and then 2009 was like, okay, you should go back to acting. I don't care if it costs us our relationship, and go back into that. And I just remember being on the phone with my dad, and I was working construction somewhere at this house, and he gave me some Michael Jordan quote, when I said I wanted to go back into it. And I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but it was enough to be like, all right, this is it. I need to do this. I have $500 to my name. But at the end of the day, this is just life. It's just money. And I've got to do this, or else it's going to kill me emotionally. And I went balls to the wall, straight ahead for it, and started acting classes at a Performer Studio Workshop in Tampa. And I'd known about the class for a while, since 2003, and I just couldn't attend, for other reasons. And I came in at the right time, and then after a year in that class, I spent 6.5 years in that class, but after 1 year in that class, I booked my first role. And I was 29. And then 2010 that happened. In 2011, I started booking more stuff, and then more stuff. And then 2014 changed my life. I went and played one of the lead villains in a family movie called Max, and I was gone for 2 months, and I had so much freedom that those 2 months that summer, that I realized I didn't want to be married anymore, and I wanted to push forward with my career. And then so I got divorced 2015. After everything was going through, that's when I went on a huge booking spree. Those 11 roles in 13 months, and it's like, wow, this is how it's going to be. But things came to a screeching halt around 2017. And then you got to reinvent yourself. I knew the Fu Manchu wasn't working, so I tried something else and just change your look up. And now I'm going to try this look with the buzz cut and see what it does for me. It's like Madonna. Every album, she changed her look. Just reinvent yourself. And and that's what we do. We were caterpillars. We turn into butterflies. We turn into caterpillars again, and we evolve. The humans, we evolve every 7 years. And, and I got to remember that. And sometimes, you got to get out of your comfort zone to grow.
Was your first role in Burn Notice? Was that the official first role? I grew up watching that show with my Uncle Jim, and that was an awesome show. I mean, since that was your first role, and it's down where you now had just moved to, where, of course not right away, but what was the experience filming that show like, with now that it was your first official time to show?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was a little starstruck when I saw the two main actors, Bruce Campbell and Jeffrey Donovan, and and I remember Jeffrey coming up to me and saying, "Hi, I'm Jeffrey, and you are." That's kind of sort of how this thing works. I was like, "I'm Owen," and I've got this same hairstyle here, and a big old fake tattoo on my neck of a cross, and it was my first role. It had 2 lines on it, but it worked a week. And I got to have a nice vacation in Coconut Grove, and it was amazing. And I'm forever grateful for that experience, because also, when it's your first booking, nobody wants to give you your first booking. It's like they don't want to take your acting virginity. This guy's not experienced. They roll the dice on you when it's your first role. But they didn't really know that it was my first role, so that helped me. Probably because I was 29 and this guy's been doing it. So it's not a fake it till you make it. It's just like, it's more like act like you've been here before, and that's what I had to do. Act like I've been here before and not be starstruck on set, and just hit my mark, say my line, go back to my chair and speak when spoken to, and just kind of do my thing, and not be one of those actors that are irritating the stars on set or anything like that.
Was there any methods that you learned from the beginning to, like, just to basically compare, just in general, just when you do a movie, musicians do music, anything really in life, you when you're preparing, you get nervous sometimes. Was there any sort of nervousness that you had? And if you did, how did you contain it?
Yeah, I was nervous at first, just because it's different than working on stage. I've got my first opening scene is I got to drive this van, pull up, hit the mark for the van, then get out of the van, and then walk up, and then hit my mark again, and then deliver my line. So I'm just like, okay, how far do I pull up? I can't really see the mark because I'm driving, this old Ford van, and I don't have very good depth perception when I'm driving. I could have never been a valet guy or a car salesman. So trust me, I've hit some cars parking with my 73 Impala back in the day. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
And then after that, I was just like, okay, I've been here before. And then it built me the confidence after my first role. But it's always harder to book that second role. Now that I popped my cherry, it's like, oh shoot, I've done that. Anybody can book their first role. I had 44 no's before my first yes. And then I did, that was July of 2010. And then I got my next booking by February or March of 2011. And then I booked 2 things back to back, where I had to literally be on 2 different sets within a matter of a few days, one in Atlanta and then one in Miami. So that was fun, and getting on the plane and rushing to get there. And I was covered in tattoos from the role in Atlanta, and I couldn't get them on because I knew I couldn't stay the night there again. I had to get on a plane, boom, now get down to Miami and do my next role for the Glades. So it was, but I loved it. I loved that rush. I loved that feeling of being important, that somebody's waiting on me, somebody's hiring me for my talents. And then it just build confidence, and more you book. But then, you go through a lull, because in 2021, I booked 4 things back to back, where I was on 3 different shows within a matter of 5 days, and some in different states. And then waiting for those to come out in 2022, 2023. And then in 2022, I booked all those things in 21. I remember I had 97 auditions in 2022 and didn't book a single one. So having those 44 no's to start your career, and then getting your first yes, and then having 50 credits to your name in 2022 and getting 97 auditions and not booking a single one, it was a little deflating. It was just like, geez, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what my reel looks like. It doesn't matter the projects I've done. It doesn't matter your credits. It's really, what I've found, it's your looking the right part, luck, having the right opportunity, and then talent is usually last. But yeah, having that opportunity, because there's a lot of things I'll see in, that, oh, maybe I could have booked that role, but I never got the opportunity. So that's where the luck plays in. Because like people tell me, was that you I just saw on this show? I was like, no. You would have been perfect for Vikings. I'm like, yeah, I would have, but I've never auditioned for it. I didn't get that luck. I didn't get that opportunity. And so, when you don't get the opportunity, it's like, you can't be mad at anybody, not even yourself. It's frustrating. So that's the things that actors go through. And, people hashtag actor's life. They don't talk about the stuff in between. They're the real actor's life, and going to, like, for example, I was in Atlanta, and I had to drive all the way to Louisiana for a callback for Daddy's Home, with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. I said, okay, what's the interest level? You're the only one they want to see for this role. I was like, all right, dope, I'll come. And then I showed up, first I had to change my pants, and I'm like standing outside the car. Didn't realize I was standing in a friggin' ant pile. Like red fire ants biting the shit out of me and stuff. And I'm putting my pants off. I'm like, ah. In the waiting room, I feel another one bite me. I'm like, God damn, please don't. I get there. For sure, I'm the only one there for that role. There's other people there auditioning or having their callback, second interview. And I get in the room, I meet the director and all the producers. Everything went really well. But when I had to say my lines and they say action, I felt a couple ants bite me right on my private areas. My twig and berries.
Damn.
And I'm just trying to keep a straight face. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is not. Oh, you okay? I probably should have said something. Hey, and they probably would have thought it was funny because it's a comedy film. And I'm trying to just brush it off like nothing happened. And I don't think that affected my performance per se because, they liked me. And then a week later, I got the call saying, hey, man, they decided to go with their friend Bill Burr for the role. I was like, well, shoot, I can't compete with that. This was 2014, and I didn't have my major role credits at that time. But it was a little deflating. But, after that call back to New Orleans, then I had to drive all the way home to Florida and see my ex-wife off because she was leaving and we were getting divorced. So all that transpired within 22 hours. And then that is, my friend, is hashtag actor's life.
Everybody always wants to post the positive result. And this is exactly why I wanted to do this with you, man, because it's like nobody wants to show the grind and most of the times where it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And it's like you just said, it was for, they chose their friend instead of you. I mean, long drive back home, you have all that time to think about it, and nobody talks about that.
No.
It's how do you turn that? How do you flip that into a positive on top of family, personal things going on?
Oh, yeah. And those ants biting me. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, I lost to Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr. He's a great comedian. He's a famous guy, and, to be up against that, that's pretty amazing. Being the only choice other than him, that's
badass.
It's badass, especially, because I didn't have a ton of credits at the time. And I knew I had to keep working my way up and continue to build those credits. And then after that, it's when I hit 2015, because that was like December of 2015, or no, say November of 2015. 14. And then come 2015, by March, that's when it was just boom, 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 boom. I'm on Into the Badlands. I worked 37 days on one episode. It was great. I loved it. It was
a badass episode, I might add. A badass episode.
I appreciate it. And then, like, I'm doing that, and then I'm also, I booked Vice Principals, which was my favorite role of all time because Danny McBride is, my idol. Like just before I get into the vice principals part, when I was doing construction in 2009, before I came back to acting, I'm at an old couple's house, the Wickershams, and it's freezing outside, and they would let the other carpenters come in their house and work, but they wouldn't let me. They're like, no, he looks too much like a thug. I don't want him in my house. And that's when I was like, F this. I want to be working with, because I was watching Eastbound and Down at the time. I want to be working with guys like Danny McBride and do this. And that was like my turning point. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And then 6 years later, there I was working with those guys. But however, it was a tough process, because yes, I was booked, but I was also locked into the Badlands. So it looked like it wasn't going to work out because the shooting dates conflicted. I had to be in a different state. I was filming in New Orleans, and I had to do vice principals in South Carolina, Charleston. And but luckily, Danny McBride wanted me so bad that they rearranged their entire schedule so that I could do that guest appearance on vice principals. And I begged and pleaded with AMC, and they said, okay, we'll move your shoot schedule so that you can get all your stuff done and go do that. And I was like, thank God. And it worked out. I got there, and Dan McBride goes, hey, thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, thank you. You kidding me? I'm like, God, you're like my idol. But I didn't say that to him, of course. And he was like, we went toe to toe with AMC. Fuck them. God damn, we weren't going to fucking lose you, dude. I was like, well, shit. I was like, man, my idol was fighting for me. I'm like, this is so surreal. And it was just a dream come true. It's like, you want to cry, but you can't. And it's like, all right.
That
cool.
shows you what kind of guy he is then at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like, your audition wasn't just the best. It was better by far. We read everybody in LA and New York. It was better by far. I was like, thank you, God, because that was my dream to work with him. And then after a 14-hour day of shooting Badlands, I filmed my audition at nighttime for vice principals, and just with guy liner still on and everything from the show.
Where does that inner hustle come from, that grind?
I don't know, get rich or die trying, it's like, I've had my back up against the wall. I've overcome a lot of injuries, and people tell me I can't do something and still do it because I want to prove them wrong. So I'm thankful for I'm thankful for the positive people in my life, but I'm also thankful for the negative ones, because it's like, I want to prove them wrong, and even if I have any doubt, I want to prove myself wrong, because your worst enemy sometimes can be yourself. We got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, and you just got to flip that motherfucker off sometimes and tell him to, kick rocks. I'll use you when I need you, devil. Okay, but right now, I need to say some prayers. But yeah, it's just having that drive, that motivation, and when I was growing up here in Florida, I mean, I saw a lot of my friends go to prison. Or die. I had a lot of people I went to school with die, and it's just like, I didn't want to be another casualty of war here in Largo, Florida. And because I was in and out of jail, and I was facing a lot of time at one time, and I made some bad decisions. And but luckily I overcame all that, and as soon as I got off probation and all that, I went for it.
If you don't mind me asking, Owen,
mm-hmm.
when you were growing up in Florida and you're going in and out of jail, was it more so people trying to test you, or was it just I just don't want to be a good guy today?
I was a product of my environment. I was a really good kid. I was probably one of the sweetest kids you'd ever meet. And then Florida, like, just changed me. I was never a gang member. I had people trying to get me to join gangs, and I just refused to, because I thought they were for pussies. And I just, but I was a product of my environment. But usually it was my decision on some of the things I did. I think when I was 14, got arrested for the first time, stealing baseball cards from Walmart and getting chased by the police, and then having a gun pulled on me, and I'm 14 trying to climb this fence and handcuffed. And, I was like, man, but that wasn't my that wasn't my idea. It was my choice to be there, but it wasn't my idea. And then later on, yeah, my anger got the best of me, because I was very angry. My mom passed when I was 9. I was mad at life. I was mad at God. And then, I made some bad decisions. I lit a bar on fire because, my best friend got beat up by some rednecks, and I wanted to retaliate and light a bar on fire 3 days after 9/11. It was a bad decision. And, but I did 100 days in there, and some of that time I spent in maximum security, and it was scary, being 20 years old and you think your life's over. Because I was facing 25 to life. It was 3 days after 9/11. So I luckily had a great lawyer, and she happened to be friends with the judge, and a lot of money and maybe some white privilege. So and I got to do the 100 days and 3 years probation and house arrest, and I was after that I never went back. So it was enough to scare me straight. When I was in there, I learned a lot of character work. And I look back on it and I was like, that was just my time to do character work, and I was making everybody in there laugh. They were like, man, you're going to be an actor one day. You're going to make it big. You're going to be on a big screen. I want to get your autograph while you're in here. I was like, all right, man. I was actually signing autographs to inmates while I was in there. I was playing pranks on them, acting like I was the medication lady. Medication, bring your water.
Wow.
I don't want water. Get your ass down here and get your freaking medication. Where's she at? Man, go back to sleep, Longstreet. That's just Slim messing with you, man. Slim, you messing with me? You messing with me? It's like, yeah, I'm going to get you. When you least expect it, I'm going to get you. I'm like, oh, shit, I don't know what that means.
That's great. That's so good. That was so good.
I never dropped the soap.
Was there any sort of nights in there where it was like very, very scary to be around that environment?
I had a lot of balls. I wasn't scared of anybody. I was very angry. So it was like I had that I wish a motherfucker would type of mentality, because I felt like I could just run through somebody. No, not that. The main fear was FOMO, fear of missing out, because I was 20 years old. My beautiful girlfriend is out there having fun. I turned 21 in there. And that was my biggest fear. I was like, man, I just threw my life away. I'm going to prison. I was like, damn. I was like, this is it. My decisions put me here, because I was sticking up for my best friend that got his brains beat out. I'm a protector, man. And when you have somebody like your mom, you lose, and then the most important person in your life, which was my friend, and he still is. We got matching tattoos and stuff. And I love him to death. And, I would have done anything for him. I'm just one of those ride or die type of people. And so I did what I did. And then, but yeah, in there, I didn't eat at first just because, number one, the food was disgusting. And it took me about 3 weeks to get used to it. It's hard to sleep in there. You got to use the bathroom in front of everybody. There's no privacy thing, So that sucked, but you got to do what you got to do stuff. But I wasn't afraid of anybody. Nobody really messed with me. That was it. If anything, I maybe stole somebody's chair and act like what he's gonna do. I feel bad about it now. Like, man, I was a dick.
Growing up, for me, music was very prominent in my life, especially hip hop. And you did a film, the Lady of Rage, called Confessions of a Thug. What was that experience working with heavyweights? There was other heavyweights on that film, but what was that like, man?
That was my first experience working on a film. I mean, I was a glorified extra on there. Yeah, you see me and stuff and playing cards and whatever. It was a very low budget film. I had bruised ribs on it because I got to carry this dude down a hallway while he's trying to fight to get out, and his elbows are digging in my rib cage. I think I had to be 24 at the time, and I had bruised ribs for about 2 months. It sucked, But I mean, yeah, Gucci Mane was on there before he was Gucci Mane. So I got to meet him and I got to see like real, rap songs and then filming and, like basically music videos within the movie and get to be a part of that. That was interesting. And there was actually some people in there that were former inmates. And, then it like brought me back a little bit because I was 2 years removed from that. And so, yeah, it was good first experience. And I realized I never wanted to be a fucking extra again. So, I didn't. But yeah, hip hop, yeah, is a big influence on my life. Sometimes what you listen to, you become. And I used to listen to this song called I'm a big Tupac fan, so there's a song by Tupac called "Lost Souls," and I used to listen to it all the time when I would play Tomb Raider and stuff. And it was like he said. Running from helicopters, get 25 to life if the judge don't like us. Spending county in the worst way, hell of a way to spend my 21st birthday, and all that shit came into fruition because I was running from helicopters when I had 2 helicopters running from me and 2 German Shepherds chasing me down until I got beat up by 6 cops. Pepper spray up my nose and in my mouth. Woke up in my underwear covered in brown paper towel for a blanket. So, but yeah, you got to be careful what you listen to, because sometimes I always said, what does it matter? I'm just going to end up in jail anyway. I'd say that shit when I was like 16 and then look what happened, It's like I spoke it into existence. So whatever you think, positive or negative, I mean, it can, it'll happen. You think about something hard enough, it'll happen. And I'm a very strong manifester. I've learned that, I haven't gotten everything I want, obviously. I'm not a series regular, but, I've gotten the girls of my dreams, I've got a beautiful kid, I always thought when I was little, I was like, I just want to have a Gemini boy, just like me, blonde hair, blue eyes. And boom, that's what I got. His birthday's 4 days after mine. I'm a Gemini, and it happened,
Do you believe in God, Owen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got saved when I was in jail. And I was able to, when I got saved in there by Reverend Rudolph Wayne, who's rest in peace. Yeah, he changed my life. I was like, all right, I'm going to give myself to God and all that. And then when I got saved, I just remember closing my eyes and it was nighttime during the summer. And I just had I felt like this gold magical blanket being covered over me. And I could just feel it and feel the sparkles, see the sparkles in my head. And then I was like, all right, man, I'm going to accept whatever sentence they give me. And I'm going to go in there. And I just remember being on the phone with my lawyer right through the glass. And I said, all right, I accept whatever they're going to give me. And she was like, Owen, you're going home. I was like, what? I started crying. I was like, fuck. Because I was praying like a motherfucker to get out that bitch. And no, I definitely believe in God. But I had to stop being angry with him for taking my mom away, because that's what put me in there, anger is an awful thing, man. I'm not a person to hold grudges. I forgive people for the apologies I've never received. So yeah, like I said, I've been through a lot, man. I've had my head kicked in with steel-toed boots and had my left ear ripped off when I was 16. Had to have this motherfucker sewn back on, and severe concussions. But I forgave the people that did that to me, even though I never received an apology. And it's just, and I'll see the person and I give them a hug every time I see him. No ill will, no hard feelings, and we can talk like we're friends now. So, because we do have mutual friends.
How prominent is a library in jail?
Once a week, they come by with with a roll cart of books, and you can pick out what you want. But yeah, it's selective. I just remember reading, some John Grisham books in there, and books on the law, and trying to get out of there, because you guys think you needed 50 points to go to prison. I did a lot of homework and realized that my charges should be third degree, not second degree on one of them. And then they recalculated it right then and there before I was getting sentenced, and it was 49.6. So I was 0.4 of a point from losing my life, losing my freedom. And damn, if I hadn't done that work and that homework as a 21-year-old kid, I would have been screwed. She was like, my lawyer was like, you're right. Oh my gosh, I'll rework it. And yeah, talked to a lot of people in there, just trying to learn the system and understand it. And it's now I can look back on it and not necessarily laugh, but look at it as a beautiful thing. I needed it. I needed that time in there. I needed to be in there so that I could see what I was doing wrong on the outside from the inside.
Like I said, my favorite thing that you've ever done is Night School. And that movie is about second chances. So could you kind of just tell me how you got that role in that film? And obviously reading the script, I mean, clearly you can relate to it. Maybe not so much your character, but the whole message of the film.
The experience with that, I mean, I just remember auditioning for it and just really just pulling from experience and being able to yell and feeling like a little bit like Chris Farley when I'm yelling, at the kids in the back and stuff, because there's more scenes they cut out. I had like 7 scenes in there, so you don't get to see everything. But if you have the DVD, there's the deleted scenes and there's more stuff. So I did have a bigger role in there, but it just didn't make the final cut, unfortunately. But the message in that, I mean, I can relate. It's just finish what you started, some redemption in there, and anybody that doubted you, you can still make a dream come true. And that's what Kevin Hart's character had to do at the end, and prove to the girl he was seeing, and because he was just trying to impress her, but he really needed that diploma for himself, and it's important to him. Just like when I dropped out of high school with 13 days left in my 11th grade year because I was dating a girl that my dad didn't like and kicked me out of the house for it. I was 16, and then learned my lesson, broke up with her, went back to school and begged my dad, hey, I'll please. I said, let me come back home. He's like, all right, I'll get you a car. You can go back to school, but I don't want anything less than a C. And I got nothing less than a B. I even got straight A's one time just to see if I could do it. And I just had to spend an extra year, year and a half, actually. It was a year and a half altogether, because I had to finish my 11th grade year and then do my 7th, and then do, my senior year. But I'm glad I graduated with the class that I did. I enjoyed them a lot better than my original class. No offense to some of you out there.
Obviously, you've worked very hard to get to where you are today, man, and you've gone through a lot. I mean, going back to Night School really quick, working with Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish. I mean, these people they've put their 100,000 hours in, just like you. I mean, being around that environment, what was that environment like? Because these are people that actually care about what they're doing.
It was great, man, because they had recognized me from Vice Principals, and Kevin Hart gave me a big hug when I first met him, and gave me compliments on that. And when I was improvising and stuff and saying certain lines that didn't make the cut on the film, he was like, man, you really funny, dude. I was like, oh, thank you. And he and I were like sharing stories. Like I shared my Matthew McConaughey story with him, and then he shared his. And then, but one of the stories, I told him something about Matthew McConaughey telling me about crapping your pants twice a year. And then he told me a story about how he crapped his pants and how he's trying to rush home. And you're trying to rush home, and the closer you get to the house, the more you got to shit. And then I shit myself and get inside and it falls on the floor, and I blame it on the dog. And and I'm getting live stand up from him face to face. There's only, it's just me and the cast. There's like 5, 6 of us. And then hearing that story, I was hearing it for the first time that he had ever told it, like, to a group, because 2 years later, that whole story was on his Netflix special stand up. I was like, man, I got to see that firsthand.
when he hugged you, did he go up to your waist?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I had to make that joke, man. I had to do it.
Yeah.
I had to do it.
Oh yeah. No, he was a blast to work with, man. Yeah, I remember he farted in one of our scenes. It was hilarious. It actually made the blooper reel.
that pink sweater he's wearing, man, that shit is so fly.
Oh yeah.
That shit is so fly, man.
Like I said, I had a lot of fun with him. Tiffany Haddish, her and I shared some war stories and stuff. And she's like, damn, motherfucker, you've been through a lot. I was like, yeah, man, I'm here. I'm here. Ain't no shame in my game. I'm not ashamed of anything. We can be ashamed of our past, but we can only be, we can be ashamed or remorseful for things in our past, but we can only regret the things we didn't do to better our lives. And that's what I came up with a long time ago, and I still hold true in my heart to this day. Because you don't want to have regret, man. Like I said, at the end of the day, this is just life. Take those risks, roll the dice, because living with regret is like, because you were too scared to do something, is the biggest pain and killer of all.
Is there one moment in your life to where maybe not, you couldn't, maybe just in life in general, if it's an acting story too, but what was one moment in your life that you were like, fuck, man, I wish I just believed in myself right then and there and just did it? Asking a girl out to a dance, just like anything like that,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there was times there's beautiful girls that liked me in school that I didn't really knew liked me, and I wanted to ask them out and wanted and didn't, and then found out later, oh, she was in love with you. I was like, what? Damn. Or things in a callback when I'm in the room with the director and casting director and too afraid to have taken a risk that I should have taken, and just being, playing the page and thinking, just giving them what I think they want instead of making my own spin on it. And I try to just make my own spin on everything now, just should, add some salt and pepper, but yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of moments I'm not thinking of. I mean, for example, the story I just told you, I should have told those guys, hey, I got some red ants biting my shit right now. My junk is being bit as we speak.
That's interesting, the psychology of it, because you don't want to let these people down. You don't want to look stupid. But at the end of the day, if you were just straightforward with them, they might have just said, hey, man, go to the bathroom real quick, come back.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't have mattered because Bill Burr is just, Bill Burr's Bill Burr. I don't have regret not saying something. I think it would have just been funny, I think, if I would have said something and something they would have remembered. Maybe even remembered me down the road it probably would have remembered me something down the road for something else. That was almost 11 years ago. So, and I haven't read for any of those guys ever since.
I don't know if this is accurate, and excuse me, man, because I haven't seen the film in a while. But when I was going through your filmography, because you're somebody that I've always seen on TV, and when you were in night school, I said I see that guy all the time. But Google says you were in Spring Breakers. Is that true?
Yeah. Briefly, very briefly. It was not a safe set to work on, so I quit after one day. So that's when I first met James Franco. We were in the middle. I had gold grill. He had his gold teeth in, and we were filming in St. Pete. It's Harmony Korine. He likes to work with real people. And yeah, there's some gangsters in there. And then, originally James Franco was supposed to use my 73 Impala to be his car for the movie. But, they didn't want to pay me for the car. So I was like, well, he ain't using it. And then they wanted me to bring this car to a place called Hollywood Nights up in Tampa, which is a very, very sus area. And I was like, man, I ain't trying to get carjacked for this thing. It's, it's a dope ride. And it's just, they didn't put people in a safe environment. And, I can hold my own, but I'm here to work. I'm not here to fucking, throw down or pull a pistol out. And apparently I'm glad I didn't go that second day, because apparently, yeah, they got crazy with real gangsters and pulling guns and stuff. And I'm like, damn, I made the right choice. So I took my name off it. I removed it from my IMDb. Didn't want any part of it. Don't have it on my resume. So because I ended up working with James Franco that same year, like, God, I don't know, maybe 6 months. Yeah, 6 months later, there I'm again working with James Franco on something else where I play one of his henchmen on Homefront when I'm fighting Jason Statham in a couple scenes. So it worked out. I got to work with him again.
James Franco, when I seen him in Spider-Man 3, that film made me really believe that I can go out and do this, and that his presence really. I've seen a lot of his indie stuff. I've seen a lot of the major stuff. Spring Breakers, I think, is one of his best films. What was it like working with him, even though it was very little on Spring Breakers, but Homefront too? I mean, what was the environment working with him?
Yeah, he was a nice guy, I mean, yeah, he was totally in character on Spring Breakers when we're up on stage, and it was just funny watching him work, and using that accent. And I've always dreamed to play a role like that with cornrows and gold teeth. I love that style because I know I can pull it off. But yeah, Homefront, he was definitely more chilled out, if you know what I mean. I could tell. He's just like, hey, what's up, man? James. I was like, yeah, we met on Spring Breakers. We did? Oh, man, yeah. I was like, yeah, I look a little different now. Now, because I grew the beard out and stuff at that time. But yeah, he was super chilled, nice guy. And
Spring Breakers also marked your second. I'm assuming it was different days, but Gucci Mane was also in that film. Did you get to see him again?
No, he was at that strip club that I was supposed to be there that night, and I quit. I didn't show up. So yeah, I would have been in the same scene with him, but yeah, I quit.
You were also in like an episode of The Walking Dead, and you were pretty badass in that.
Oh, thank you.
There's a school that is close to me. It's the Tom Savini School in Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice.
Greg Nicotero is connected to those guys down there in some way or shape or form. And so you're working on this show. I have to assume it was in Georgia.
Yep.
And it got to be hot as hell, man.
Oh, it was hot as hell, man.
What was the environment of that? How did you like filming The Walking Dead?
Yeah, I love the cast. The cast was great. I felt bad for the walkers, because they're covered in makeup. And I remember this one girl I was talking to. It was her birthday that day, and she, felt weird because I'm talking to this zombie. I have no idea what this girl looks like. Still have no idea what she looks like, and she's like so dehydrated. And so I went and grabbed a big grape Gatorade for her, and I remember somebody yelling at me, "No, those are not for extras. Those are for actors only." I said, "No, she is overheated right now." I said, "Those are for actors only." I said, "Well, just pretend that I drank it. How about that?" And I opened it and gave it to her. I was like, "You think of this? She's a human being, man. She's dehydrated. You ever experience, heat exhaustion or a heat stroke?" I had a heat stroke last year. That shit sucks, man. Whew. And I'm lucky I didn't die. But
wouldn't want to wish that on nobody, man. That's just not a joke. It's not a joke at all.
No, they're only allowed to have water. Look at this, fuck out of here. You ain't gonna tell me what to do. Especially when somebody's, I was like, it's her birthday, bro. She's hot. So I hooked her up and got her 2 Gatorades. But no, other than that, the cast was really cool. And, I remember talking to Andrew Lincoln, and he was just like, "You want to really have success in your career? Have a family, Owen. Have a family." He's talking in his Rick voice. He didn't use his real English accent. And Greg Nicotero directed that episode. He was super cool. And I talked to Stephen Yoon a lot. that plays Glenn, and Norman Reedus. Norman Reedus really dug my tattoo on my back because I got a big Danzig skull on my back. He's like, Danzig, fuck yeah, I love that tat, man. I was like, thanks, dude. And yeah, what people don't realize is that I'm in two scenes in that show. That's not just me covered in tattoos with the long hair and beard. That's also me at the end of the episode, where I'm taking, because I took over to Terminus and started the cannibalism there, and that didn't get explained later. That was supposed to be in my contract that I was coming back and they're going to do a backstory on me, and it just never worked out for some reason. It even says so in the Hollywood Reporter. You can read the article that they were going to revisit my character, but that's me at the end, because then they shaved my face, they pulled my hair back, being short, because it was a flashback of when I took it over, because I just got done raping their mom and throwing her in the shipping container and then grabbing my next victim. But that's me at the end. It's just so dark, you can't tell that it's me. Plus, and I remember everybody on Twitter was like, that's Negan, and I was like, shit, I wish I had the opportunity to play Negan. Because I was originally, a year prior, I was up for the role of Abraham, but they said
Really?
They just said I didn't have enough credits and I didn't have enough footage to play that role. And I was like, wow, okay. How am I supposed to get more footage if nobody's giving me that luck of opportunity? You know what I mean? So yeah, it was discouraging. I knew I could have nailed that role. I was big enough. But they chose who they chose, and that dude, did a decent job. And it is what it is. You move on, and the next opportunity comes. So, and I'm excited really for what you guys are going to see. What I just filmed. I just got back from LA, so like I said, I'd shaved my head and beard, and I can't say exactly what it is, but it's based off a comic book, and I played the lead villain in this movie, and it's very disturbing. It's going to be a horror film. So they did a very good job with the makeup. So it's all the same makeup artists from like the Avengers and Mandalorian and Guardians of the Galaxy. So they did an incredible job. I couldn't be more happy with the work that they did. I don't even have my real teeth. They give me these messed up teeth. It's great. It's going to turn out really good. I may have to go back for some pickup shots and shave my stuff again. But yeah, I don't know if you watched The Boys or not.
Absolutely.
It's the same. The guy that did it, he's the same writer and creator of The Boys. So that's my favorite show. And then when I got this role, it was a dream come true. I was like, wow, I'm gonna, be working with the creator of The Boys, and this is his screenplay. This is the comic he wrote, and I'm the main villain. So that was pretty intense. But yeah, we're just waiting for them to announce it, and I think it won't be till later down the road, because this film's not going to come out till next year. So we'll see when it comes out, as early as Valentine's Day, but no later than October of 2026. So
when you're getting all these roles, how do you pick what's for you? Like, what are you looking for that fills you in your heart?
That's the thing. I don't get to pick. I get to choose to audition or not when I get the opportunity. If I got to pick, I'd be working right now. I'd be working every day. But it's just, it doesn't work out that way. But yeah, I mean, I like playing the villains, but if it was my choice, I would be doing comedy, straight up. I'd be doing comedy all day. That was the reason why I got into this business. But they thought I looked like a scary thug, so my agent was like, "You need to put on muscle," And I remember I put on like 60 pounds of muscle at one time. I was 265, and and it got me more work, because I was just some beanpole starting out, especially on Burn Notice. I was skinny as a rail. And, she told me, if you want to work more, you need to put on muscle and get in the gym. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll do it. But yeah, I wish I could choose what I could do.
What role does lifting weights have in your life today? I mean, is it still a very prominent part of your life, daily life, rather?
Yeah, I mean, I don't work out every day. I worked out today, but yeah, it's my job. I just treat it like a job. I clock in. I have my list of the things I need to do. I need to do shoulders and biceps today. Do whatever, how many sets, and then get it done and clock out. That's how I look at it. It's just a job. I'm just there. Sucks you got to wait in line to use things, because I'm not here to look at my phone while I'm, waiting to do my next rep. I just want to smack motherfuckers off the thing. Like,
Thank
bro,
you.
I don't want to be here right now. I got a life to live. I know you're bored out of your mind and you have no life, but I got shit to do, player. So
I'm so glad you said that, man, because going to the gym, it's like you do a rep, and in these, it's young kids. They just stand there on their phones, and it's just
and
like,
they're so out of shape too. It's like a 22-year-old kid just watching something on Netflix, and I just want to slap the phone out of his hand, bro. I'm like, come on, like, get up, like, move.
and they ain't gonna be in the gym for too much longer anyway. They're just probably doing it to show their girlfriend they're lifting weight.
There's, I'll see some of the same people in there for the last 2 years, and I see zero progress. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you still this way? You're not doing the right workouts. Like, do cardio. You want to lose that fat, do the damn cardio. You want to build muscle, lose the fat first, and then build it, because that's the only way it's going to work. Otherwise, it's just your muscle's just going to be there underneath all that fat. Trust me, I've learned. I've been
sort of like Michelangelo with the David. You have this, marble. You got to chip at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just, like I said, it's just a job for me to go in there. I mean, it does make you feel good to work out afterwards, and you want to look, presentable for the ladies, and got to do that. Yeah, God, but yeah. People just need to, like, be mindful of other people. When you're in the gym, it's just like, you're not the only person in this world. We got people waiting in line to use this one thing, and so they can get back to their lives. But people just aren't mindful, and that's the problem. You see it on the road. People drive like crazy. They're honking and trying to get, because their place to be is more important than yours. And it's just not the case. And people just need to calm down. There's a lot of tension in this country right now. I get it. But at the same time, it's like, don't take your anger out on other people, innocent people. Like, we don't deserve it. Whether we're on the road and we don't see you face to face, we still feel it, because you're in a car. You got to basically driving a weapon. You can hurt somebody with that thing. And the way you're driving recklessly, you can take somebody's life. There's car accidents every day in this country that take people's lives. I don't know what the statistic is of how many people lose their life in a car accident. It could be every 10 seconds. But yeah, man, it's just like, people got to be mindful. You're not the only person on this world.
Maybe about like a month ago, they actually approved in Pennsylvania here that it's actually, you'll get fined if you're caught on your phone at a light while you're driving. You can't take calls. You can take a call from the speaker, like Bluetooth. But I was pretty like, because every time I'm at a light, man, someone's on their damn phone, and it's just like, you if you kill somebody, man, you're done. Like, it's a joke out here.
I don't text and drive.
What is it like down there? Do they have that same law too?
I don't think they have the law at a stoplight, but you're not allowed to text and drive or be on your phone like this while you're driving. But yeah, I don't text and drive, man, because I not only value my life, but I value the other people's lives. And people driving around with kids in the car. Like, I don't want to be responsible for somebody's death because I wanted a fucking heart emoji, some text. And if somebody's driving with me in the passenger seat, I was like, bro, put that away, dude. If you want me to, I'll drive if you want me to drive. But I said, that just shows me you have no respect for your life, and you have no respect for my life. And I'll be pretty adamant about it in a deck, because I do take it seriously, because I don't like when people do that shit. Because you're putting me at risk. I got a lot to live for. I got a family at home. I don't want to be crippled, in a wheelchair again. I've done it. It sucks. So yeah, man, it's people just need to be mindful and realize everybody's going through something, and and just be thoughtful and have a heart. It's just your anger on the road is just not going to get you anywhere, but learning a lesson.
Something that I thought was interesting with you, and you even texted last night to me, was you just got back home from travel and now you're back with your family again. How do you balance the being away for however long from your family when you're working as an actor?
Yeah, I know it's tough here at home. My wife, she's, I really respect her, admire her strength, while I'm gone, and because she works full time, she works far away, and I've got a 9-year-old son, and he needs a lot of attention, and so no, I'm very thankful for her and what she does and goes through for when I'm gone, and I know it's hard on her, having lonely nights without me here, 'cause I'm a protector, And I do a lot around here, and I did come home and notice some things, out of place, going through the fridge, and this needs to be thrown out, that needs to be thrown out. I'm glad I'm home. But yeah, she works very hard, and she's great at her job, and yeah, it's just I'm glad I can get home and relieve her. I wish I could give her a month or more to herself like I've had, because it was nice for me to go out there and relax, get some clarity, and do some, just some spiritual healing, and we'll work through some things. Because that was the first time I've had a break since my dad passed 2 years ago. That's how slow the acting world's been, because I don't know anybody that's consistently working as an actor right now, because 2023, we had a strike. And then after the strike was over, not all of us got back to work, because a lot of those shows left, after COVID and then strike. A lot of shows left and went to Canada, went to Australia, just went to other places. So we've dropped in this country as a whole. At least 65% of the work is gone, maybe higher, maybe 85%. I don't see a lot of auditions like I used to. Like that 2022, I was telling you, I got 97 auditions. I think this year I've got like 14. And normally I would be at like 40, 45 right now. So yeah, we have not recovered from the strike whatsoever. Like I said, I don't know anybody that's working consistently right now. And I've got a lot of actor friends. I mean, I haven't even seen Kevin Hart in anything other than a damn commercial. People might be waiting for the Diddy stuff to come out. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Not with just him, but I think because you're not seeing a lot of stars right now other than Glenn Powell or Tom Cruise doing movies right now, because I think producers are like, hey, I want to hold off doing this movie with Will Smith or this person because his name might be on that list. And if we put 50 million, 150 million into this project with this person and their name ends up being on the list, that's just all that money we just lost. And I think that's why you're seeing a lull in movies, especially. Streamers, streamers are streamers. They're always going to be there, but I've seen them reduced. But the thing is, with a Netflix show, you don't need famous actors. You just have to have a good storyline, good actors, but not famous ones, because I can't tell you how many shows I watch and I know nobody from the cast. Maybe one person I've seen in something, but as long as it's a good show, they turn those people's lives, they change their lives overnight. And all you need is good content. You don't need a familiar face or a famous face to do something, and like, how many followers do they have? Oh, okay. It's like, get the fuck out of here. It's like talent, should outweigh all that stuff. I don't go out looking for a bunch of followers. I don't have a ton of followers because I don't post every day. I'm not fake. It's because I know a lot of people that have a ton of followers, and I talk to them, and they tell me how exhausting it is, and how fake they have to be, but they know how fake they have to be, and they tell me that. And I'm like, damn, that's not me. I'm real life Florida man. And I I keep it real, you know.
I want to commend you on that, man, because like, and I'll tell you when we're done. But I'm like I said, I'm 23. I've talked to a couple established names growing up, and kind of being around the Savini, Romero, kind of here in Pittsburgh, and a lot of it is like there's down to earth people, there's more so stuck up people, and sitting here talking with you today, man, like I just reached out to you cold. And it's a privilege. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to talk to you, but at the same time, you're being nice and you're being just genuine. And I want to commend you on that, man, because it's very few far in between.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. Real recognizes real, brother. You know, that's what I live by. You know, and I always said that's one thing I was scared of being, you know, becoming an actor one day. I was like, I don't ever want to lose who I am. I don't ever want to get sucked in and be one of those people. Like, I'd watch the Oscars and I'm like, these motherfuckers are fake as fuck. I was like, I don't like watching this shit. I don't even like the movies that are nominated. They suck most of the time. Sorry, being honest. I like comedy. I like horror. This shit's fucking boring. I don't want to see some dude lose a bunch of weight and fucking cry. You know, if I wanted to do that, I'd fucking go down to Jimmy John's.
You say that every day, Taco Bell.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I always wanted to always stay true to who I am. I mean, I'm still friends with people I went to high school with. I still hang out with all of them, you know, and I have to, you know, do that for myself because I don't ever want to lose sight of who I am. That's always been very important to me. I don't ever want to be something I'm not. So yeah, that's just me at the end of the day, and I'll always be me. And, you know, and like I said, I'm an open book, man. I'm, you know, no shame.
I want to ask you because it's very interesting to me, the business side of the film business. And I understand that you weren't involved in this film, but Kevin Hart was in it. You know, is there some sort of Borderlands? I grew up playing that video game, and the film was a huge financial failure. And your experience in the business, I don't want to get into conspiracy stuff. I like to think of it as money and venture capitalists and investors and things like that.
Yeah.
But when a project bombs that bad, is it almost, I don't want to say planned for a tax write-off, but why are people with this kind of money taking this IP with all these big working hard names and just trashing what is a great story video game? What's in the business from what you've seen? What is that?
I know they had a lot of trouble because I auditioned for it years ago. And I think they had a lot of trouble with the storyline and the writing on it. I didn't watch the movie. And I've never played the game, but I did read for a couple characters on that movie. They went with some huge dude. I think I read for it back in like 2020, maybe. And then they had reshoots in like 2023, and they were reading more people again for other roles. So it was a long process for them making that movie. It was like probably 2 to 3 years of them trying to film that and get it ready for when it came. I don't remember. You remember when it came out? I think, was it last year or this year?
Last August.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it was like 2 to 3 years they were filming that thing because they didn't have, you know, everything they needed. And I think that's why it bombed. I don't think it was trying to be a tax write-off. I think they had already invested so much. They did a test screening. The producers watched it. Okay, this is shit. We need to change this and this and this, add some of that. And they just couldn't repair it. You know, it was already a sunken ship. So I don't even know what reviews it got on it. It was pretty low.
It was bad, man.
Yeah.
The film itself, if to be completely, like I said, I grew up on the video games on the Xbox. If you forget about the video games, it's a cool film. But you can't look at it that way as a video game adaptation, you know. I thought Kevin was great. I thought Jack Black was great. It was a great cast, man. The visuals were cool. But what would you? So when a film has reshoots, and is that usually a bad sign in the film industry?
Typically, yeah, it can be. I know they had reshoots on Night School. and they made it longer than it should have been, and that's probably why I got my scenes cut. Because they were like, okay, we don't have enough Tiffany Haddish in it, where we need more. And that was, that was during a time we were filming that during the Me Too movement, and they were trying to give female males more screen time. And I think their reason behind it was because of, okay, females need more screen time, and they gave her more scenes, so they cut out all the other stuff just for the sake of, hey, we need to please the world right now and give females a chance. I mean, they did it with a lot of shows. It's like, let's make this more diverse, even though the story's not good. Like, for example, and I'm not shaming or bashing anything when I say this. And I did a show called Naomi, and I'm chasing these high schooler kids around, and I'm trying to kill them, trying to kill these kids. And they're running around, and they're like, should we hide in the bathroom? Which one, the boys or the girls? Well, pretty soon it won't matter, because everything will be same gender bathroom anyway. And it's like, you have a moment to stop and say all that when you're being chased by me who's trying to kill you. Like, just to throw that in there, it was just like, it's forced. It's not good. I get it. We're all looking for equality. I appreciate it. But like, when you're just kind of just like sprinkling in there and throwing it, and it defeats the story's purpose, people notice that, and it sucks. And the show got canceled after one season. And even my friends pointed out, he's like, what the fuck was that line there? That was the dumbest shit I ever heard. It's like, yeah, it was pretty dumb. Sorry. But yeah, with going with reshoots, it's not necessarily, sometimes they think the product should, they may think they need more of something. Like, they talked about having some pickup shoots with me, because like, oh, we want more of you. We want more of you in this. And, because I'm basically the monster of this story, in this new movie I did. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, you want more of the monster? I'll be there. Cool. Give me more stuff. Because I did a lot of improv on this movie. I was hitting. I had some really funny, wild lines. I just was feeling it and was like, do this, do that. And I'm just glad my improv was just on point every day.
When you're doing special effects and you're doing the squibs and the sword through your chest and all these different types of physical stunts, I do remember hearing a story of you hitting your head. How do you prepare yourself to just do these do these stunts?
Sometimes I just want it to be real, and sometimes I'll take the hit, even if it hits my head. I hit my head pretty hard on this movie because there's padding down when I fall and stuff, and I didn't realize there was a root underneath this padding, so I hit my temple like right on the root, and I felt like I got hit by, not Tyson. I didn't feel like I got hit by Tyson, but I felt like I got hit by maybe like a welterweight. It didn't feel good. My bell was a little rung. My bell hadn't been rung since I did Cobra Kai, when I really hit my head on that steel bed frame, because it was like I'm trying to keep my foot, from hitting and trying to sell it at the same time. And I was like, man, it's not selling. I was like, so I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to hit my head on this motherfucker. And I did it, and we sold it in that time. And I was just like, and it was during COVID times, and they're like, can you put your mask on? Put your mask on. I'm just like, I just hit my head. Lady, shut up. I don't need a mask right now. Okay. But I had to wear a shield anyway. I didn't get to wear a mask because they didn't want to mess up my beard. But I'm glad we're not in COVID times anymore with wearing masks on set and stuff. God, that was so antisocial.
That was a strange time, man.
Oh,
I mean, honestly, I was like, I was a senior in high school then, and we got kicked out of school in March. So our graduation was like a drive-in movie. We didn't have a stadium to stand in. It was like take a picture with your diploma and go. And For you to
That's sad.
for you to do a movie, and not really, like you just said, antisocial. You can't interact with your castmates or anybody. It's
Yeah.
like living hell.
It is because you can't go hang out with them. You're not allowed to hang out with each other. And I've met some great friends on movie sets prior to COVID, and we're still friends today. I just posted pictures of me and one of my buddies. We spent 2 months together doing Max, and we're all still friends. It's great that we stay in touch. And I didn't get to have that opportunity during COVID. It's like, don't hang out with each other, don't do anything. I'm like, okay, fine. Just go to my room and quarantine and wait until I got to go shoot. So I mean, I was grateful for filming, obviously, but at the same time, it's like you want to get the full experience, and that's the friendships that I make and the stories that other actors tell me. They're great, and I'm very, very, appreciative of asking and knowing the things that they've shared with me, because it's helped me grow not only as an actor, but as a person. So yeah, not having that, it sucks, because you gotta move your chairs away from each other. You can't sit. You gotta 6 feet away and no talking. So very isolating.
When you had to go back to your trailer or your room for you, did you still have to wear that mask, or did they just say take it off when you?
Yeah, I took it off when I'm in my room or whatever. So like I said, most of the time I wore a shield, which is better than a mask, because they didn't want to mess up my beard. That was the privilege of having a big beard, because as soon as I wear the mask, then it's like
Just
Yosemite Sam, just all over the place. We can't have this because now we got to restyle his beard again and put oils and make sure no little stragglers are coming out, because that's distracting when you watch a film and then you see it. But I remember we were doing a show in 2020, and everybody that had a shaved face had these lines on their cheeks from the masks. And I pointed it out. I'm like, look, does anybody not notice this? Now we got to wait till his face clears up before we can shoot that. Otherwise, it looks like he's got scars going down. You're right. I'm like, why am I the only one noticing this shit? I'm all about continuity. And then, then they had to switch masks or whatever. And you can see all the extras that have to pass through, they all have lines on their face. And I'm just like, oh my God, I get it. We're trying to be safe, but we all had to take a COVID test before we started work. So nobody has COVID.
I mean, how is it now compared to that? Is that all wiped away?
Oh yeah, it's done. Yeah, it's done. I mean, COVID's still out there. I mean, it sucks, I know people get it here and there. I mean, COVID fucked my world up. I mean, I got it in 2023 and gave me vertigo, and it's awful. And I had it again last year, and it really messed me up. Just make me dizzy, and I still got to take medications for it. And this shit was 2 years ago. And last year I got it at Disney, of all places. Like, oh, you didn't use any hand sanitizer? I'm like, you had hand sanitizer in your purse this whole time and didn't give me any? It's like that line from Dumb and Dumber. You had gloves this whole time while I've been freezing. It's just like, wow. Who am I?
When my best friend's father, when he got COVID, his anxiety went through the roof. He couldn't sit down. I think he showed me his steps, and it was over 20,000 steps in like an hour or something. Yeah. And he had to go to he was prescribed stuff and everything. And he's more tamed down now. This was at the peak of COVID, But did you experience anything like that where it increased your anxiety?
When I had it, sure. Yeah. Prior to it, no, we're in Florida. We lived every day like it was nothing. Everything was still open. But yeah, it did mess with my brain. It made me very lethargic, and it was just, and it lasted for so long. Because I didn't want to get out of bed, even though I didn't have it anymore. It was just the after effects. But I never caught COVID until I got the vaccine. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about it. And, I'm sorry, I was fine before I got the vaccine.
Me too. Me too.
My dad, didn't get cancer until 2 years after he got, 1 year after he got the vaccine. There's no cancer in his body. And then all of a sudden now he has it. And I've heard other people, they had cancer just show up out of nowhere and after getting it. And it's like, whatever, people are going to bash me for saying that. But hey, man, facts are facts. It happened. I know people that have died from getting cancer from having cancer show up after getting the vaccine. Ironic, maybe, but it's, and when my dad was dying, he was like, I should have never got that vaccine, And I was like, damn, yeah, me too. So
did you get the
I should probably get tested.
Huh? Did you get the 2-parter?
Oh yeah, the booster, yeah.
Yeah,
I have to, because they won't let you work. They won't. That's the only reason why I got it, because they will not let you work as an actor unless you've had it. Now it doesn't matter, but 2020 through April of 2023, yeah, you had to have it, otherwise you couldn't work.
I remember hearing that story of the it's supposed to be a Jack Black and Ice Cube movie. Did you ever hear about that? There was Ice Cube refused to get the vaccine, so they kind of put the movie to the side.
No, I don't blame him. Yeah, I know a lot of African American guys, actors that refuse to do it, and I don't blame them. I mean, I've got friends that refuse to do it, and I can see why, and yeah, I definitely wouldn't have done those roles that I did if I hadn't got it. But is it worth it at the end of the day? I wish I'd go back in time and not do it and not have it. I'd go back in time because I know it changed me. I wouldn't be taking these meds every day if I didn't. I get dizzy. I got dizzy yesterday. I'm like, it's not normal for me. I'm a healthy person. Take care of myself. I don't drink. I don't, do nothing. I'm drug free. I don't do shit. Might hit a little vape, but but not weed. I don't even smoke weed.
Yeah, same here, man. I've never tried it.
Good. Don't do anything. Yeah, alcohol is the gateway.
Yeah,
alcohol will make you say yes to everything. Weed, not really the gateway. It's just it'll slow down your production. That is the biggest demotivator in the world. I get it. Some people need it for their pain and whatever, and it's better than. I'd rather somebody smoke than drink alcohol. It's better for you than alcohol. But I don't know if you're a drinker, but yeah, don't let that shit ruin your life either.
The only time I'm not a drinker. The only time that I will have a drink is I'll get Ciroc on New Year's. That's been my tradition since I've turned 21. So every New Year I'll get Ciroc, but that's we always have these family parties, and I always leave with I still got my 2 bottles left on the shelf, like almost full, because but
that's good. That's a healthy way to drink. When I drank, I was a party animal. I didn't drink because I was sad or upset. I just drank because I'm a fucking crazy gorilla. I like to party. But now I can still go to parties and I can still have fun. I go sit at bars and just order a Diet Coke or whatever, and just enjoy the company of strangers or friends. So it hasn't changed my life in that sense. I just don't wake up with hangovers anymore, and I have more energy, and I can stay in better shape.
I gotta ask you, man, because you're in Florida. One of my favorite musicians is Diplo, and he got his start down there. And he always doing research of him, man. He always had these funny alligator stories. Do you have any great alligator stories?
I don't have some great alligator stories, but yeah, because we've got them everywhere. One friend was playing. We were at the park, and he's throwing the ball in, and then having the dog go get it in the water, and alligator came up and got his dog. So yeah. Recently there was a homeless man going into this one lake was it Lake Taylor Park, and he was going in and trying to get golf balls because it was next to a golf course, and he would, take those golf balls and get, money for them. That motherfucker got 8. This is like a year or 2 ago. Florida man gets eaten while diving for golf balls. It's sad, but it's fucking, he made the paper. I haven't had any close encounters with alligators. I mean, I've fed them and stuff before. They're cool. I like gator shoes.
Crocs. You like Crocs?
No, hell no. I don't wear Crocs. I've never owned a pair of Crocs. Nah, I won't. I won't wear the Jesus sandals, and I won't wear the Crocs. I'll wear flip flops. That's about it. Well, you won't catch me in a pair of Crocs, man. No.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time, man. I mean, like, if you had to, mm-hmm. from the very beginning of your entertainment career to today, the film that you just got back on, I mean, at the end of the day, what do you want your legacy to be as a man and as an actor when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I want to do comedy. I want really people to see that side of me more. I want to play, I would love to play like a series regular in a 80s setting where like I'm like a drug cocaine gangster down in Miami or California, and the guy dresses like Don Johnson, from Miami Vice. I would love something like that. But as a man, I just, people just know me for being me, sweet, kind-hearted, and very, generous person. And just being a great father, and a great friend and partner. That's all I can ask for, and that I did the right things while I was here on this earth, and hopefully I don't have to like come back as a cockroach or something. And if I do, hopefully it's quick.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, they don't have to come back as a starving child in another country and get eaten by flies. I just try to do all the things right, because I think, that's the way to get into heaven, is do all the right things while you're here on this earth, because I think hell is coming back as something you don't want to, because we're lucky. I mean, you're a good looking dude. I'm a good looking dude. It's rare to come back and have that same luck as being blessed with talent and the right mindset and coming back and achieving the things that you've or topping the things that you've achieved on this planet. You're 23, you got your whole life ahead of you. I still have the best years of my life ahead of me, and my best work hasn't even been shown yet. I'm a character actor. Our prime years are 41 to 70. So I'm just now hitting my prime at 44. And yeah, you've got a whole life ahead of you. I don't know what kind of films you're interested in making, but I will tell you that right now, a lot of producers are looking for horror. That seems to be the way to go right now, because I'm a writer. I want to direct. I'm working on my horror script, and I want to direct and do this whole thing. But yeah, man, don't let anybody hold you back. Don't let anybody discourage you, because I've had the people most dear to me sometimes tell me, "Oh, you're going to be an actor. That's really tough. I wouldn't do it. Just go to college. Live someone else's life. Live what I have planned for you." No. We all have our own dreams. Let us roll the dice. Do I want my kid being an actor? No, because I don't know if he's strong enough to go through the rejections that I have, and I don't want him to feel the pain that I've felt, because I've also been able to deal with it because of my life experiences, but I don't want him ever having the life experiences that I've had. I'd learned the hard way. Sometimes the hard way is good for some people. Some people are built for it, but I don't want that for him. I'm always going to tell him to pursue his dreams. If he wants to be an actor, go be an actor. I'm not going to tell him not to, but I'm not going to force him. Hey, you're cute. We're going to get you in this commercial for Baskin Robbins. Like the ice cream. Yeah, no. That's just not. I'm not a momager.
I've heard
Yeah.
horror stories, man. Like I've
Oh
heard
yeah,
that there's a lot of them out there.
yeah, and a lot of motherfuckers are fucked up. You know, I've met a lot of actresses that they just got thrown into beauty pageants and told they should be an actress, and now some of them are schizophrenic, and they're, you know, and these were people at one time. They're still people, but they're not them anymore. I've met a lot of people over the years. I was very close to a particular female, and she's gone behind the eyes, gone, and that throwing into those, you know, beauty pageants at 6, 7 years old, and being, you know, competing against and telling you're not pretty enough, or you're too pretty, or whatever, you know, it destroys a child. And that's you're made up who you are, you know, usually by the first 5 years of your life. And well, that's what they say, you know, everybody has a redemption story. Anybody can change if they really want to, unless you have serious mental issues that you can't overcome, and that's nobody's fault. But I'm lucky I don't have those mental issues. Thank God. The medications I take are, you know, for my vertigo, and I take a lot of vitamins. So thank you, Lord, for blessing me. But, you know, it's what you just gotta always thank God, thank the universe, you know, for everything, man. You know, because we do take this life for granted. I was talking to an actor when we worked. We used to work all the time before COVID, and we were just talking to each other like, man, we didn't realize how good we had it before COVID. 2019 was great, you know, and we just didn't realize how good we had it. What we would give right now to be on set, somebody, you know, measuring us and trying on outfits, having a fitting, and people, you know, always wondering where you are, and you know, everybody caring about where you are. It's because you're a part of their project, and, you know, and all that's over. It's like, yeah, you go back to your regular life, but having it disrupted by a pandemic or a strike or anything that's out of our hands, it's devastating. But and also at the end of the day, not getting the part that's out of your hands, and you got to just accept it, move on, and you know, just be happy for the actor that booked it. That's you know, real growth. You can't have animosity towards the people that stole the role. Nobody stole the role from me or you or whatever. It's just what the creators have envisioned in their head. You know, if I'm making a movie and I love this actor, but I envision this guy that's not as good of an actor to play this role because he looks the part, and I still think he could pull it off, I'm going to go with the guy that maybe not be the best actor. It's not always the best actor. I've sat in casting rooms before. It's sad because you'll see the best actress in the room, and she just it wasn't the right for the role. So
It's very similar. The Friday After Next, the Ice Cube film. There was a couple cast members on that were going against Cat Williams, and he was telling a story about auditions and how, like you just said, no one stole the role, you know. So that's very interesting that you brought that up, because it just connecting the dots there. It's very interesting it's very interesting how would you call that a gripe maybe that people have when it comes to maybe not getting what they wanted, or they put as much work in but they didn't get it, kind of a thing? Would you sort of align that story to that whole ideology of that?
No, I mean, the thing is, it's not about who works the hardest. You know, I don't think having a gripe about it is. It's you're only hurting yourself, because you're giving too much negative energy to something that's not in your control, and you have to move on with your life. You know, yeah, sure, you can be upset about it in the moment, week or whatever, if you want to, but ultimately you gotta just move on from it, because it's not your fault. Don't be mad at yourself. Don't be mad at the producers for selecting somebody over you. Because there's going to be something that's right for you and perfect for you. Because I'll be honest, a lot of the times where I didn't book something and then I see it, most of the time I'll be like, I'm glad I didn't book that role. Or I'll be like, oh, okay, he did a really good job. And there's times where, oh, he really sucked. he must have been a friend. You know, but I don't hold those grudges. You know, it's I don't. Yeah, I don't think, you know, it's right to, you know, because there's always going to be that next opportunity, you know, or
And
maybe
you
there.
always learn something. You always learn something, like you just said when you're watching the back. You
Yeah.
know, man, it's like they probably did it better than I could have, or maybe there's a problem on set that.
Say that, but I'll say maybe he looked more right than I did.
Yeah.
But
Do
I
you,
like to think I'm the best in my category. Like I'm one of the most versatile big men in the game, and I do believe that. You know, Jason Momoa, you know, I get compared to him a lot, especially when I have the beard and long hair or whatever. You know, he's better looking than me. I don't think he's a better actor than me. You know.
yeah, you guys are both good looking, man. You got to credit yourself. Come on.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think nobody's really seen what I can do. I mean, you know, unless the people that know me. But as far as the world, I haven't been given that opportunity to just show a lot of my versatility, and that part sucks. That part hurts because, like, you know, like I just booked this horror film. I rarely get to audition for horror films. You know, if you look at some of my real, you know, where I played this really nerd, you don't recognize me. I've got glasses on and long curly hair parted down the middle, and people watch it like, I didn't even know that was you. It's like, yeah, because people don't give me the opportunity to play these roles because they see, you know, they're judging a book by its cover, and it's not fair.
You played a detective on a previous horror film many years ago, right? It was an indie film.
Oh yeah, but that was such a I don't count that.
Okay.
Yeah. I played a Cuban detective on House of Blood, but that was like made in the backyard type Florida movie. I mean, it's no offense to the people who put it together, but it was crap, you know. And they know it. They just did it for fun, and that's all we were. And I had like nothing to my name at that time. I even read for one of the leads and didn't book the lead. And they went with two guys that have never done anything. And years later, he's like, I should have booked you as the lead because I went on and booked a bunch of stuff. Like, yeah, well, I don't know. You didn't see it in me. And, you know, it's not like that would have bettered anything for my career anyway. You know, we did that movie for free. We were just trying to get footage. It was non-union. But yeah, no, this is really my first horror film, and being able to play the bad, scary monster, which is amazing. So, yeah, I can't wait for everybody to see it. I have no eyebrows. I have no eyebrows. I'll tell you that.
I can't wait to see it, man. I mean, it's like you know, it's like I said at the beginning. It's like I reached out to you cold, man, and it's just like I just wanted to kind of like learn a lot from you and speak to you and just learn from you. And
yeah,
because you have such this expansive, versatile career, and it's awesome that you're doing like a new horror film and you play the bad side of things. And I can't wait to see it, man. I really can't.
Yeah, it's gonna be like The Walking Dead on steroids. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's more gruesome, you know. Yeah, it's gonna be entertaining. So people are gonna hate me. Some fans are gonna love me for it, but I hope this is as big as they think it's gonna be. Because they've already invited me to all the Comic-Cons. They want me at all the Comic-Cons, which I've never been invited to. I have worthy credits, but I'm not going to call up, hey, can I come to your Comic-Con? You know, I don't do shit like that. I'd rather have somebody do that for me.
Yeah.
The fact that they want me, that's every single one is huge. So I'm excited. You know, I've earned it. And yeah, I can't wait. But I think that we're going to wait until October in New York Comic-Con and show the trailer. And I think that's when people will know what I'm a part of. So I'm excited.
Like I said earlier, man, you're a very down to earth person, man, and it's a privilege to speak with you today. You know what I mean? And it's like I said, night school is my film, and I would have never thought I'd be talking to you one day, man. So
Yeah, like the answer is always no till you ask, man. Always remember that. Don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to ask, man. It's just like dating women. You're not going to get that hot chick unless you ask her, to dance, buy her a drink, or ask her out to dinner. You're going to just be left wondering, what if, like that girl in high school, I didn't know she was in love with me, but I probably dodged the bullet anyway. Who knows? Maybe I got her pregnant and we fucking hate each other. But
I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah, always ask, man. Always ask people. Don't think that you're gonna upset somebody. And if you do upset somebody, fuck them. That's not the kind of person you want to fucking talk to anyway, or be associated with. They can fucking, eat a dick.